is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis coming to y'all with a quick video. I wanted to let you guys know I got some new merchandise available, not just t-shirt anymore. I got different type of t-shirt, different type of shirts and logos that you can purchase on my spread shirt, and also hoodies now. We have expanded and added more to the channel and more merchandise for the brand. Thanks for supporting. It will be in the description and the links will be in the comment section below. Thanks for helping me and supporting the movement. Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis. I'm going. What is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis coming to y'all with a quick video. We're going to make a quick video. We're going to talk about Lonnie Walker, a guy that we all thought was one of the biggest steals in the draft that year. A lot of us agreed on that, as all people, the fans, the media, the coaches, all thought that that was a steal for San Antonio to pick up a player with the potential and the upside and the athleticism of Lonnie Walker at 18. We all knew that that was a value pick. He is a legitimate 6'5", 204 right now for the San Antonio Spurs. And I had to make a video because I watch every single basketball game. And I just feel like Lonnie Walker, even though he's not getting a lot of minutes and he's not getting the opportunities that you will want him to get if you're a Spurs fan, because you see the potential. You want to see him play more so that way he can, showcase his skills even more. Because when you have a guy like Lonnie Walker and you know he can play and you know that he has upside to be a possible all-star, you want to see him develop and you want to see him play so you can see what he needs to improve on, what he needs to get better at, but also see how great he is. And a lot of that just comes with opportunity, getting a chance to get a lot of minutes, get a lot of chances to impact the game, be a difference maker, and a guy that can make an impact on the game. And you look at Lonnie Walker, it's not too much offensively he can't do. When he came into the NBA, this was a guy that had to improve his jump shooting, he had to improve his finishing ability, and he had to improve his shot selection. And those are minor flaws that an average NBA player has coming into the league, or college player coming into the league. They have to figure out the IQ, they have to figure out the pace of the game, seeing the game, having the IQ of knowing where to be and how the guys are going to defend you and what team's going to implement a game plan against you. And those things just come with playing against those teams over and over again throughout the year and throughout your career. And, Lonnie Walker has shown some improvement. You look at his numbers, it don't look crazy. You look at 5.9 points, you look at the 45% from the field, you look at the 36% from three, and you look at the 66% from the free throw line, you say, okay, Lonnie Walker, when you look at those type of numbers, he ain't really doing anything. But I wouldn't necessarily say that's fair, just because he doesn't get the consistent minutes and he doesn't play against the same team. So like I said, every team has a different type of personnel and they have different type of things they can throw at you because of that personnel and what lineups they choose to throw out there. But Lonnie Walker has helped them win a lot of games so far to keep them in that eighth spot, knocking down big shots, taking threes, getting hot in certain quarters, and it really helps them build momentum. It really gets the crowd excited because he takes those shots, he dunks the ball. He's a high player when it comes to watchability. And DeMar is more of a stationary guy that likes to use footwork, angles, and strength. And he might not dunk or do the craziest plays, but that's DeMar DeRozan game. This guy is still giving you 22 points a game, and you still are winning games with him. DeMar DeRozan isn't Kawhi Leonard, obviously, but he still is one of the better basketball players in the league, and he has been proving that so far. But eventually, we know that either San Antonio is either going to extend DeMar DeRozan and keep him around a little longer, or they're going to have to make a decision to let him go. Yeah, Jakob Poeltl is in the same situation where he doesn't get that much playing time, doesn't really get that much of an opportunity to showcase his skills, but at the same time, they're going to have to come to a situation where, do we want to keep Jakob Poeltl around, or is we going to try to move him because we don't want to re-sign him? But the thing about Jakob Poeltl, like Lonnie Walker, is the less his numbers and the less his impact, the less salaries another team is going to be able to give him, which means they might be able to get him on a great contract, and his potential might be showing off in the future, as it's not getting that much play right now in the NBA. But when you look at the fact that DeMar DeRozan is still one of the top 25, 30 players in the world, you don't really want to rush that and make that mistake of letting him go for nothing, which is possible at this point. But you also want to keep him around because you have Greg Popovich. Greg Popovich wants to continue to compete. He wants to continue to have the best team that he can have because he's going to continue to chase championship no matter what people think. And this is a guy that people gave up on the Spurs, counted out the Spurs, and they still made it to two NBA finals in that last decade, and they still did win a championship when people didn't think they was a championship contender anymore each and every season. I even had to go to war for them saying that they will make the playoffs the last 3 years, and they did. And then when they made DeMar DeRozan, they lost Lonnie Walker, they lost DeJounte Murray, and I still said the Spurs is going to find a way to make the playoffs, and they did. So you really think about it. Do they really need to keep DeMar DeRozan on this team for the long term? Because that's what they'll be doing, giving him an extension, is showing commitment that they want to keep him around a little longer. Or should they just say, let's see what we can get for him by putting his name out there that he's available, and then seeing what can we get, whether it's picks or another young prospect, or either just trying to fill another position because we know LaMarcus Aldridge is not going to stay here a couple more seasons from now because he's getting to the point where he probably wants a title before he retires. He already got the money. He already got the All-Star and all NBA appearances. Now it's about possibly being a champion. And he hasn't really been able to do that since they had Kawhi Leonard on this team. And last year they had a chance to go to the second round because they won 7 games with Denver. They played above expectations in the regular season, especially after all those injuries. Plus, they was able to still go out there and give a fight to the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. And that just shows you how great of a coach Greg Popovich is, finding a way to get the best out of DeMar DeRozan, giving him opportunities to pass, giving him opportunities for him to score in the spots that he wants to, but doing also the same for LaMarcus Aldridge and putting shooters around like Patty Mills and Bertans and even guys like Marco Bellinelli to give them spacing so they can get their isolations going, but also ability to kick out if you collapse the defense or you leave somebody open. DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus can find them in the corners or cutting to the rim for easy buckets. But this year has been more of a struggle. Their defense isn't nowhere near what you think the Spurs and what you expect from the Spurs. Not only that, they just don't have the consistency this year either. Sometimes they get hot, sometimes they go cold. I've seen a little bit of that last year, and it's just about aging. The players that they're relying on aren't the same. DeJounte Murray isn't the same because he had an ACL injury. Lonnie Walker isn't getting enough minutes really, and it's a reason because they got DeMar and other players at his position. And after a while, you have to figure out what you're gonna do and what direction you're going in. And I really want to see what direction the Spurs choose to go in these next 2 years because Greg Popovich is only getting older. The team has got worse compared to 3 years ago and years before that. But you also got to eventually do out with the old and in with the new. Eventually, you're going to have to figure out who are the guys you're going to want to keep, who are the guys you really want to build around for the future because their contracts are coming up where you're going to have to pay them. And you just can't keep keeping these veterans around, eating up their minutes and their time when they're taking a lot of your salary. Plus, the veterans will take some of the salary. You want to have veterans around. You want to have guys that know about winning and guys that can really help the young guys out. But you also want to usher in a new era for the Spurs. And I feel like these next 2 years is going to really show us, as fans of basketball, what direction Greg Popovich and the Spurs are going to go in. Because DeMar DeRozan, he's not old. He's not a guy that's 36, 37 years old. Him and LaMarcus are decently aged, but you know that can DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge really win you a championship as your first and second best player? And I say no, especially right now. And they done proved that the last 2 years as they are clinging on to an eighth spot right now, with both of them being healthy for all of the season, and they still haven't been able to be a consistent offensive or defensive team still right now. But when you look at the DeJounte Murray, you look at Derrick Wright, when you look at Lonnie Walker, you look at the picks that they didn't give up, and you look at the development team that the Spurs have still intact, and you look at it and say, the Spurs, they got some young talent, they got some mobility, they got some athleticism, and that was one of their biggest criticisms in the 2010s is they're old and they're not that athletic. Well, at least they got mobility with Yaka and Lonnie and White and DeJounte. They got the mobility, they got the athleticism, they have the length and the size to be destructive and disruptive defensively. Plus, if they can learn how to shoot more consistently, they might be able to be guys that can handle the ball, create opportunities, but also score off the ball too from the three in the mid range, which will give them a little bit more versatility than what they currently have right now. And Greg Popovich had done changed up the lineup, done tried different philosophies and things, and you do get to the point where they're going to have to make a decision. Are we ready to rely on our younger talent? Even if it costs us a playoff spot. And that's going to be one of the biggest debates these next 2 years. Eventually, this dynasty is going to have to be renewed. But that doesn't mean, just like we've seen with the Celtics and the Rockets, you can retool it. You don't have to completely get rid of everybody because you do have young talent and picks. So you can still stay in the mix competitive wise, like they've been doing now because they fighting for the eighth seed. But you also know that DeMar and LaMarcus, they might not be able to get you to where you need to go, and you don't really want to pay these guys that's not going to be able to do that. So I really want to see when do they finally say, okay, enough is enough. We're going young. We're going to try another era, and this is the 2020s. Let's go with a different lineup, different team, different identity, different play style, and a different direction. And I think Lonnie Walker will be a big part of that, as we done seen in Summer League and we done seen several games this season. This is a guy that can get buckets. This is a guy that has the athleticism. This is a guy that have shown improvements in his jumpers. You can say the same thing about DeJounte Murray. You can say the same thing about Derrick White. And Jakob Poeltl looked like a significantly better defender than a lot of us thought. Plus, he can give you some floaters and some hook shots down low, and he can be a solid rim protector. So I like their young talent. I like their future, but it's also just trying to wait and see what they're going to do long term with this current roster. Is it time for them to retool? Is it time for them just to blow it up? Or will they keep trying to find ways to stay competitive and make the playoffs each and every season, even if that means that they're not going to be a legitimate championship contender the next couple years in the future? So let me know what you guys think. Should they retool? Should they rebuild? Should they give up on the DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge team? Should they just let them walk for free and just get cap space, or should they try to trade them off for pieces that can give them either a better draft future or just younger assets now from teams that's trying to compete and really become a legitimate playoff contender with guys like DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge being helpful to them? Or do you think they should keep DeMar and LaMarcus and milk this as long as they can and until they decide to either trade them or they walk away in free agency, and then you just figure out then. They got to figure something out because being bad and mediocre isn't a good sign for a team in a championship dynasty that they have been. They have made it to the playoffs over 20 years in a row, and at this point, they're in the crossroad. Do we want to be mediocre or do we want to be elite? Do we want to be mediocre or elite? And the only way we're going to find out is if they make that decision on which direction they're going in. And they're getting closer to that as LaMarcus and DeMar DeRozan contracts are coming to an end. Now just to decide what they're going to do with them. But Spurs fans, keep your heads up. My Celtics went through the same thing when we lost Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett. We missed the playoffs, but we ended up getting right back on track to being one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, not even that long after trading Garnett and losing Allen and Rondo and Paul Pierce. Now we have been in the playoffs consistently every single year since losing all those guys, and now we are a legitimate contender in the East. We still not going to be a legitimate championship contender, but we still is one of the best teams in the East, and now we're just trying to collect the talent to eventually get over that hump to be a legitimate championship contender in the entire NBA. And I can see potential in the Spurs, just like I seen with my Celtics. And if they make the right moves and have the right time, man, they can be doing the same thing we doing. in the Western Conference. And then it's just about getting that elite player piece again and just trying to ride that out for a title. Quinn Wade, that's what analysis I'm going. Let me know what you guys think about the San Antonio Spurs and what direction they should go in.